What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. In today's video, we're going to be doing another Who Do I 60 video. And the purpose of this video and the series of videos is basically to help players of all levels use critical thinking in determining which is their next best 60 for their account. So what I mean by this is that a lot of times this question gets asked very often on raid media, and the simple answer is, 60 your best champion. Now, more often than not, that is probably the general best advice. However, every account is different and situations are different. If you don't provide enough context in your question, you won't get the right answer or as good of an answer as you should get. And there are instances where even though you have a very, very good champion that's yet to be 60'd, it might not be the right champion for your account at that moment. So I'm going to go over a couple of these questions here on Reddit. This is my media source of choice. And we will go over how I will determine this person's next 60. Keep in mind that if you were asking, who do I 60 next, make sure you provide the reader a little bit of context as well. It definitely helps them make more informed decisions, therefore giving yourself a better answer. Hopefully these type of videos are helpful for you guys. And of course, let me know in the comments below. But let's get started here. We're on Reddit. We're just going to pick up some posts that basically look for asking 6 stars or asking for next 60s. And so forth. So let's have a quick look here. So first things first, we got 260 or not 260. That is the question. All right, I have a tough decision here. I have multiple folks that seem to be 60 worthy. Okay. And he cites Ornn, Doom Priest, Sabbatha, Belor, Katoon, Apothecary, plus a ton of 4 stars. I really want to bump up. Expert opinions. So unfortunately, he doesn't really mention what area he is looking to progress in, or is he just looking for the best general champion from the list that he provided. We're not too sure. So at this point, you kind of have to look at what he's working with and then determine for yourself, or at least make a an educated suggestion about what his best 60 would be. Maybe the choices that he chose are actually not the best. So let's have a quick look here at his box. So going over his box here quickly, he's got 60 Alice, 60 Rector, 60 Elhain. So he looks like he has 2 damage dealers and a support champion. Seems okay, right? Okay start to this brand new account. He has a bunch of 50s ready to go up to 60, he says. Let's see who is an obvious choice here. Is there an obvious choice, actually? To me, it doesn't look like there's a super obvious choice. You could argue that Apothecary is good, but then you already have Rector in there for the big heals. You could say that High Katoon could be very good. She does gain speed at level 60. And she does benefit from having the banner slot because she does require a little bit of accuracy for like decreased speed and stuff like that. She is currently his best speed like manipulator. Has a little bit of turn meter, and then obviously the speed aura for arena could be very useful. I would say the champion that kind of makes the most sense to me might be somebody like Katoon, Sabbatha, or maybe even Doom Priest. Doom Priest is actually very easy to build. So if you get her to 60, you don't really need too much, just stats. She does bring a speed aura for force affinity, and then she does bring increased attack. So I like the increased attack here because he has 2 attack-based damage dealers, which can benefit from the increased attack. She also brings passive healing and passive debuff removal, which is really good. You could also get Sabbatha to 60, making her a secondary revive. She also brings plus attack as well and plus defense, which is something he doesn't really have. So personally speaking, I think Sabbatha might give him the best bang for the buck because plus attack can really help a brand new clan boss team go a little bit farther than it should. I would also consider Priest Ornn as well because he does require accuracy from the banner to get more of his accuracy so that he can land more poisons and stuff like that. So another good 60 candidate, but I would probably go with maybe one of the champions that don't require accuracy and are easier to build. Because currently he has 2 damage dealers, so you can't really support a 3rd damage dealer. So one of these supports would be easy, and both of these supports don't really need accuracy. So I would probably either pick Sabbatha or Doom Priest first. Afterwards, I might focus on Ornn for the poison, for the extra poison damage against clan boss, for example. And Ornn's probably still very useful as a 50 as well. But to me, Sabbatha looks pretty good. All right, let's move on. Who to 60 next? Let's have a quick look at this guy. I like to increase Hydra and Chimera damage. Right, so that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. He doesn't really like, we can kind of have a look at his gear level and see what kind of stats he's hitting. What is this? Lady Mikage, she's running about 260 speed with about 560 580, 570 accuracy, full perception set. I mean, you know, it's still pretty early game type of stuff. Still running five-star rare gear. But he's looking for Chimera and Hydra damage boost, right? So we see Huskin here, decent for Hydra. Seeker's decent for Hydra as well. Shamail, great. Rogar can be used for Hydra. Geomancer for Hydra. Hydra and Chimera. Geomancer for Chimera works. The max HP guys work for Chimera. I mean, if we're a champion to run both of them, I'm just having a quick look here at his 50s. Champion that would work for both of them. I mean, maybe Ursula could work. Plus attack. You got plus attack, decrease attack, some turn meter stuff. I mean, she's not super great. She's a revive. She's better than Hydra. She's better than Hydra for sure. Pulsering brings decreased speed and hex. He brings a little bit of damage as well. I mean, he's not going to be. He's better for Hydra, not so much Chimera. I don't think any of these champions are particularly insane or good for Chimera, but for Hydra, you do have some choices. For Hydra, like I said, Holzring would be probably your best bet. Beyond that, I would probably save my resources, or at least 60 a champion not for those areas, because yeah, Chimera and Hydra, there's not too many strong options here. Holzring for Hydra, that's about it. I mean, unless you need Ursula. Ursula is going to be really good for faction wars and stuff like that, so she's never a waste as a 60. But I mean, she can be okay in Hydra. And personally, there's no other. If you don't have to 60 somebody, maybe just hold off for now. That's kind of like my suggestion there. Let's move on. So there's always, you don't always have to feel, pressure to 60 somebody because you have the resources to do so. Sometimes it's better just to wait, especially if you know that you have a shard pull session coming up. Always wait until you finish pulling your shards, and then, you might pull a game-changing champion, and then you want to make sure that you have resources to 60 them right away. So here we go. We got second 60s upgrade. Should I either go for Ugo? I bought masteries for him. He's just waiting to level up. Alice, Jareg, I pulled him from a sacred shard. Okay, so I would suggest never to buy full masteries for a champion that you don't have 60 already. Just because now you have a decision whether you want to 60 them or not. But yeah, never do that. Yeah, so always wait before buying masteries. So you're going for a second 60. You're never going to go wrong with the Ugo at 60. And I think Ugo is a good companion for Kale, right? You have Ugo and Kale going in. Of course, Alice and Wukong are very good. But, they are legendary champions, and you probably are starved for legendary books. Ugo's A1 Leech, also very useful in the early game when you don't have ways to heal up. Very good against clan boss, keeps your team alive. So I think it's a pretty slam dunk Ugo here, especially since you already committed the 800 gems to buying the masteries preemptively. Yeah, so 60 Ugo, and I don't really think there's too much argument around that. So let's move on. Let's see what else we got here. All right, these are good ones. Need a 60. However, it needs to be a force champion. I don't think I have any standouts. So I was thinking Lysaea, who is a bit meh, but wanted to check with you guys. Oh boy, these ones are really tough. I get it, right? Like, I remember I had to 60, I forgot who had a 60, a spirit champion that was really bad back in the day, just to get that mission out of the way. I think it might have been like second Armiger or something, and I already had like a first one. So I was like, didn't really want to do that. But let's have a look here at his force champions that he says he wants to 60 up. Let's have a look here. Any force champions that stand out? Lysaea, Hippo? Why not Hippo? Hippo's very good. Hippo's very good. Hippo doesn't need to be 60, to be fair, but I mean, a 60 Hippo is going to carry you pretty hard for faction wars. And I mean, like, this account is definitely not done faction wars, so having the 60 Hippo you're definitely going to use. I mean, I would say a 60 Hippo is way more useful than a 60 Lysaea, at least for an early game account. Lysaea could be useful for like late game accounts that can utilize her for like arena. I mean, she's actually decent overall, but I think for this account for the near future, the Hippo would probably be just significantly better. And obviously the Hippo is going to help you climb Faction Wars too, right? So you're just going to be getting a lot more near-term resources back just by getting more perception pieces and more resilience pieces and all that. I think to me it's a pretty clear Hippo. Like you don't need to 60 a Hippo support for Faction Wars specifically, but in this case, I think you're just going to get a lot more value, both near term and immediate term, from Hippo as opposed to Glycea. You could also consider Zarguna here, support champion for the Orcs faction. She's not very good, but I mean, if your Faction Wars is struggling, then she could maybe be helpful because she is a support. So she might be able to carry it like a weak Orc faction through a couple more levels. But I think you probably just invest in the Hippo, being an epic and all that, you get more immediate value right away from her. You could go Zargala as well. Zargala is pretty good as a damage dealer for the Orcs, and you'll probably end up using her pretty much extensively for the Orc Faction Wars climb as well. So I would say Zargala or the Hippo. All right, let's move on. Who should I 6-star next? Let's see here. I was thinking Tagore for survival purposes, but is there anyone else that I should do first, like Kale or Cold Heart? All right, let's have a quick look here at this roster. Pretty good opening roster. You got Emek, Wukong, Thor, Otherion, AoE decreased defense here. Alice at 50. He doesn't specify what area he's looking for. Survival purposes, Tagore. Okay, I mean, you have Emek for survival purposes. You don't really need Tagore for that. And he doesn't really list which area he wants to use the champion in. But just having a quick look at what he's packing here, what is the most useful, or what areas does he need the most help in? I would say probably somewhere like Spider could be, probably need some attention, or maybe Fire Knight. In that case, somebody like Cold Heart's gonna be really, really good. He actually doesn't have a really clear answer to Clan Boss even. So I would say maybe even a Poisoner could be considered here. So somebody like Cold Heart could be really good for dungeon crawling, like Spider, Fire Knight. You could definitely think about somebody like Fane. Fane could be really good for a Clan Boss, just to do some poisons, brings decreased defense and weaken. And if you wanted somebody just for a reviver, you could take somebody like Goregrab even. Goregrab's basically like a beginner arbiter, smaller terminator boost, but still brings the plus attack, right? And has the speed aura in arena. He already has Wukong for the speed aura, which is great, but then the plus attack could be useful. I guess maybe Loki can be used for plus attack as well. So maybe not 60 to Goregrab. I don't know. To me, it seems like it's going to be Cold Heart or maybe Fane. I don't think Kale's going to be super useful here, especially if you're just basically using him as a poisoner, because you have better nukers already. Wukong, Thor, basically replace all kind of generic nukers, like for the foreseeable future. So you need somebody that's not just, and in this case, if you're going to 60 Kale, he's just a poisoner, because he's not going to be nuking as good as Wukong, Thor, or Therion. So to me, you have to bring somebody a little bit different, that does something a little bit different. So to me, it's Cold Heart or Fane. Let's do one more here. We got a decent range of questions here. Next, level 60 all tips appreciated. Who should be my next 60? Probably done many mistakes, but I'm that kind of guy that just lives with it. ... Feeling I'm lacking a good support because of no decreased defense. Thinking of Magnar. Correct choice. Magnar doesn't bring decreased defense or being a support. Be new friendly. Okay, sounds good, man. Let's see here. So 60 starter, 60 Geomancer. Those are good. Whispers, good. Rectors at 50. Okay, so War Maiden at 50. Alice, Wukong 50. Okay, interesting. Magnar's pretty far away from being 60. I don't know. You don't really need that. I mean, you have better nukers here. Needed a good support. Bogoth is a great support. Lots of healing. Very easy to build, to be honest. UDK, obviously, very, very strong support as well. Definitely really strong at certain waves. Certain dungeons can be very strong as well. So, for example, like Spider. Spider will, all the Spiderlings will go after the UDK. And if you can keep the UDK healed up, then he basically survives forever. So I would choose between one of these two supports. Both of them are quite easy to build up, like I said. UDK doesn't require any books and can still be very effective. Vogoth just needs high health, and then he can heal up your whole team by getting hit. You mentioned decreased defense. You have the War Maiden here. She's your only real option. You can keep her at 50 for now. There's going to be better options that come later on, so that's why you don't really want to commit too much to her. Bit of advice for people in this kind of situation is that don't leave your ascensions like this. Focus your ascensions on one champion. Don't spread out all your work throughout all the different, throughout every single champion in your roster. You want to build one champion completely, fully, and then make deliberate decisions, make thoughtful decisions, especially in the early game when your resources are very limited. So I would say one of these two supports are going to be very good. You got, two kind of squishy damage dealers, a really good damage dealer here with Geomancer, which is a huge win. And yeah, that should be pretty good for you, at least for the beginning. All right, guys, let's do one more. It's at the bottom of the page here. Who should I 6-star next? I was thinking of doing Allure for Fire Knight or Stag Knight for Faction Wars, and I was wondering if I was sleeping on anyone. All my dungeons are stage 20 except for Ascension ones for gear. I also don't have any proper revivers. Suggestions for my collection would be appreciated. So this is a good structured question, right? It's saying exactly what he thinks he wants to do and saying where his actual progression in his account actually is. So this is a good structured question. So make sure you guys structure your questions this way if you guys are asking for help. So he wants some help in, for example, Fire Knight, right? He wants some help in Fire Knight. He's saying Allure or Stag Knight. Stag Knight is actually good in both places, Fire Knight and Faction Wars. And then he's saying he doesn't have a good reviver. So he's 20 plus in all dungeons. Let's have a look here. All right, so just having a look through his box here. So if he's specifically looking for Fire Knight, like 21 to 25, Allure is going to be really good, like MVP good in that stage for Fire Knight. She's also very MVP for Faction Wars as well, especially against the final boss on 21. So Allure, very good pick. If that was your thinking, good job. Stag Knight, also very good, but not as crazy as Allure, especially at this stage in the game. And you already have an AoE, decreased defense champion as well with Ugo and Deacon. So you don't really need Stag Knight. Allure is going to get you more value as well when you start doing Dark Fae as well. So even though Allure kind of fades out in hard Fire Knight, she never really totally fades out because you can still use her, for example, Fire Knight, normal up until, hard difficulty. You can use her in Faction Wars, you can use her in Dark Fae. So she never fully fades out. The other choice, if you don't want to go with Allure, could be somebody like Visix. Visix is also very decent against Fire Knight. She brings multi-hits on the A1, and then she brings a decreased speed as well. She's also very good in Faction Wars, big carry in Faction Wars, as well as Dark Fae as well. So she could be an option for you. She's a legendary, though, unfortunately, so it's not as easy to make her work. So I would say Allure seems pretty solid for you. You mentioned you don't have a reviver. I mean, you got Scylla Drakes. Just make Scylla Drakes like insanely fast, and she can be reviving your team no problem. If you're really interested in like a team-wide reviver, Uko is very, very good. Uko is a hard carry for a lot of areas. He's great in Hydra, great for Faction Wars, good for waves, especially in a stun set, for example. Kaja the Rise is actually a very decent team-wide revive as well. She brings a bit of a cleanse, Termir boost. She can be your speed leads. She can be your booster in Arena, for example. Yeah, so another very good example, but she is a legendary as well, same with Uko, so not sure your book situation. So otherwise, I would just pick Allure and be very happy with her, and then start progressing through Fire Knight Normal and of course Faction Wars. All right, folks, that's gonna be it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. A little bit of a insight into like thoughtful considerations for your next 60. Like I said, guys, a lot of times you want to just pick the easy 60, easy, the best champion, right? But of course, you want to make sure that you consider all, things that you're looking for your account, long-term use, how many places you can use them. Do you have gear to accommodate that champion, for example? Do you have other champions that can fill the same role? Do you have too many champions that have similar roles, etc., etc.? So, like I said, everybody's account is a little bit different. Everybody has a little bit of a different situation. So, Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys took something away from it. Let me know in the comments below if you guys like these type of videos. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.